Hi, I'm ASHLEE Marie, and today we are making this Pokemon Go cake, complete with all the team logos down below, as you can see here. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what team you're on, and click on over here. I am over at the Working with Lemons channel doing their Lemon Red Talk show, and we are making cookies! Pokemon cookies. Let's get started. First thing we want to do is to create the Pokemon plaque that sits on top of the cake because that's going to take the longest to dry. Now I have printed off the Pokemon logo regular, and I've also printed it off backwards, and we're going to use both of these, and I'm going to show you why. So first off, we're going to start with the backwards one. Now I've rolled out some yellow. Now if your yellow is a little bit too bright, you can always add a touch, a smidge of red because this is a warmer yellow. So like usual, when we are doing logos, take the back of your knife or a toothpick and go across the lines, and that is going to give us our template without cutting through the paper. And lift it up, and there you go. It's faint, but it's there and it's good enough for cutting. All right, now that part is done. Now you want to take some clear spirits, clear alcohol of some kind, and we want to paint just the lettering, not the areas that we're leaving behind. And now we're going to take our yellow and flip it over onto some blue that we've already rolled out. And lift away the parts we don't need. Now some of it might need a little bit of gentle reminder that it's actually cut and it should stay put. Now that we have the yellow all weeded out, now we're going to cut the blue, and I'm just using the right side Pokemon as a guide to help me cut this. Now take some like 18 gauge covered wire, and I'm going to stick this one in the P. And let that dry there. I'm going to stick this one in the N and let that dry like that. Now for the Pokeball portion of the cake, I baked two halves, a almond half and a cherry half, and that's supposed to represent the red and the white. Now, I know the cherry is a little bit more pink than red, but go with me on this. The first thing that I did was to make some white chocolate ganache and dye it with a buttload of red, and of course it turned pink, but it matches the cake, so it works. Now I'm going to frost the bottom half of my circle. Now sometimes when you're making a round cake, the two round halves don't fill up enough, or they rise and then they kind of fall a little bit, especially with dense cakes, and so they don't quite make a circle, and so sometimes you need to put a layer of cake in the middle. So I have about ½ an inch of more of this cherry cake, and that is going to go right in the center, and that's going to help us achieve that perfectly round shape. And then top with our round cherry top. And then keep frosting. Now I've rolled out a fondant circle just less than ½ an inch thick, and I'm going to place my cake right in the middle of it. And then to flip it over, I put it onto a plate just so I could turn it easily and it wouldn't mess it up too badly. Smooth the fondant down the sides past the halfway mark, and then take a knife and cut around the 4-inch cardboard cake circle that we have on the bottom that's giving it that flat surface to stand on. Peel off that fondant and then smooth it around the edges. So we have the fondant on the bottom half of the cake, and now we need to cut away the extra. So we're gonna hold our knife here at the halfway mark and then just spin, holding the knife in place and letting the turntable do the work for us. And then just take that top half away. Now take some red fondant that you've rolled out and put it along the top. And stretch it out. Now the Pokeballs actually have a black stripe that goes around the center, and it's actually recessed in some pictures. Now I'm going to use my clay extruder with this disc right here, and it's going to fit perfectly inside that gap. So I've softened the fondant with some shortening, and now we just got to extrude. Now I'm just going to press this inside the gap. Hopefully we've cut it well and it just fits easily. Now we're going to take a large round cutter and just cut into our previously cut fondant. I have to tilt it up and down a little bit. Might even have to cut it a little bit, depending on how deep you can get that in there. Out a rolled out black circle. Take some clear alcohol and brush it into the center of the circle. This is how we're going to get the fondant to stick to the fondant to create our button. And then take a slightly smaller white circle and press it into place. And take the final piece and there you have it. A Pokeball, all cake. Now for the base of the cake, which is going to represent whichever team you're on for Pokemon Go. So I am going to start with 3 layers of my cinnamon chocolate chip cake and some chocolate ganache to hold it all together. I wanted to make the base of the cake represent all 3 of the teams. So I've already done the yellow and the blue, and now I'm going to show you how I did it with the red. So this mat that I have has all of these numbers on the outside edge. And so I rolled out my fondant over in one portion to one of the lines that said 3, over to the other line that said 3, because that 3 means 1/3. Hold it up here and just kind of pull it into place and then peel it off. Smooth that out. Okay. I'm going to cut away around the base. And now matching this line, the line underneath, I'm just going to go straight up. Or straight down, whatever it takes to get that. Now I rolled out this yellow much thicker than I rolled out this red. But as long as you work quickly and you get all the colors on fairly fast so that they're all still nice and fresh, it shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to push them together and kind of match the thicknesses. If you wait too long, you won't be able to do that, so don't wait too long. Now it's time to cut out the team logos. So I've taken the team logos and I've flipped them so they're the wrong way, and I'm going to use them just like I did with the Pokemon logo. And I'm going to start by just making an outline. Now, these are not going to be as detailed as the images simply because they're small and thin, and that would be hard. And then paint the back of the logo with some clear alcohol and making sure you match the right logo up to the right color. Use the parchment paper to help hold it up and press it against the cake. Once it's stuck, peel the parchment paper off. And now we finished with the cake logos and their colors. They look great, and now it's time to put the cake together. So I've placed 4 dowels into the cake within the 4-inch diameter that the base of this cake is. And now right in the center, I'm going to stick a dowel all the way through with a pointed top, and what that is going to do is cut through the cardboard center that we have right here. Just slide that down. So place the Pokemon logo where you want it. And slide the wires down through. And there we go, all done. And we're all finished. The cake turned out great. I love all of the logos from the different teams on the bottom. I think they turned out awesome. Now, if you make this cake, you can just pick one logo for the team that you're on, or of course, you can make all 3 and then rotate your Pokeball around to your team.
2, 1, off. What? No way! What?
Ready?
No way! Oh my goodness! No! Oh my gosh! And this is all cake?
All cake.
Even the Pokeball.
All cake. All right, here we go. First slice.
It matches the Pokeball.
Thanks you guys for having me, and I'm gonna share some cake with you. So this is what we do on my channel. At the very end, we always take a bite. Ready?
That was a good cake.
Thanks you guys for having me over. It was so much fun to make cookies with you. There will be a link to the cookie making video right over here, so don't forget to check that out, and we're gonna keep eating cake. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything, and leave me a comment giving me any other recommendations for game-based cakes that you'd like to see. Thanks for watching.